Hi there, my name is Austin. I'm a senior product designer here at GitLab. I just wanted to do a quick tutorial on how I use Gitblame to better understand who changed bits of pieces of our code base. This can help when a feature is rather ambiguous and it's not necessarily clear who might own it. So to highlight this, for example, if I'm coming across a bug in our product, I may not know exactly which team to ask questions, or rather even who to even tag in a merge request. So I want to illustrate how I'm going about this, let's say for something that I've discovered myself. So I noticed when I'm hovering over an avatar icon in discussion threads that the tooltip is just empty. Now, I don't necessarily know if we want to display a tooltip here, but I certainly know it shouldn't be empty and just a black box. Some other places I see this would be like when I hover over a participant, I see their name. So I think it's reasonable to assume we'd at least want to show the name, even though it would be kind of redundant. But for this purpose, let's try and dig in and find out who could I ask further questions or even propose a merge request for fixing what I consider a bug in the product. So I usually would start by inspecting the element to better understand some of the classes. Those are usually my ways to kind of cheat the system and figure out how to find it. Now, being like totally transparent here, I spent the last hour trying to figure out where this thing is, and I finally figured it out. So I won't spend a lot of time troubleshooting in front of you, but I'll highlight my shortcut to finding it. So just looking at the class here and its interaction, what's interesting is like, if you are hovering over it, you can kind of see how the JavaScript is adding a describe by for the tooltip. And that kind of gives me an idea that I'm in the right place. I'm just going to turn that off for now. So I want to make sure I look at the right level. Avatar and its size probably isn't specific enough to find it easily. So what ended up being most useful for me was using this user avatar link. Now, there are two things that would lead to a front-end component usually rendering in the product. It's either in Haml or Vue. I was going to hope this is in Vue. So if I put user avatar link in my search, and then I restrict the files down to Vue, I tend to hide these files because they are more just writing of our language, and that can sometimes conflate the results. Now, there are a lot of files in here, and I'll be totally transparent in saying that I've already found the one that this lives in. So I'm going to cheat and kind of show where that's at. It is note. Well, maybe this isn't even the right list. Placeholder, no. Gosh, it was like notable or something. Notable note, I swear, is like what the file's called. Yeah, I mean, this is what I was trying to find. I don't know why that didn't show up in my list. Should have. User, avatar, link, board, triggers, commit, diff, environment, issue, diff. Oh, there it is. Notable note. This is the one. Okay, so what I noticed here is it's passing through a few like properties here, and I was willing to bet that it was missing the tooltip one. So I kind of just peeped around some other ones, and I noticed that like this one, for example, is passing tooltip text. So my assumption was that if I dropped this in, that it would make the information appear. Now I did have to kind of troubleshoot because, as you can see, this user avatar link appears a lot of places. So I kind of had to troubleshoot where it was at. So I refresh my page here. It's going to then show that change, hopefully. And there we go. So now we have the user name in there. Now, the question, if I'm creating a code change for this and I want to merge it into our branch, who the heck do I try and engage in this discussion? Well, the first thing that I use is you can kind of see this text here that's written like as a placeholder. It might be a little hard depending on your screen. Let me just zoom in so it's a little more, a little bigger. This is an extension. So this extension is called GitLens, and it kind of just adds in the person that last touched each line from git blame. And there are a lot of things you can do here. But one of the ways that I like to follow the breadcrumb trails, I like to open a commit on GitLab. And sometimes it will have the associated merge request that this commit was built with. And then I could usually use labels to discern who can maybe help with that. Since this looks more like an overhaul of our just code base in general and not more of a like feature change, more of a maintenance change, this isn't very helpful to me. So I'm going to go a little higher, and I see that Phil Hughes worked on like this div at least 18 months ago. So it's been a bit of time. And I could look at even, his information. So I open up this commit. This could give me some more helpful information. So I could look at Phil's profile since we include their information there. I could see the code review team, probably a good one to check this out. And then I could potentially use that, or if I really wanted to try and see like, how did this thing change over time? I could go look at this issue that it closed. It looks like more of this was like an overhaul to kind of fix stuff. So it looks like source code could also be someone that could help out with that. I would not be surprised to find out that this is not the only place. Like I know for certain that I also see the same issue with a Jira. Sorry, I'm reading the page and not thinking. I also see this in issues too. So I don't think this will fix that as well, but let's just open up an issue, hover over a user avatar and see if it puts tooltip in there. Okay, it did happen to fix that one too. So I think that this view component is probably shared between merge requests and issues. So it would solve it in multiple places, but probably the most useful person would be the last person that touched that area of the code base. So I would probably default to requesting Phil's help, or rather his group. Now, if you don't have this extension in your code editor, you could technically use GitLab to find it. It would be a little bit harder. So if I have the GitLab repository open here, I could find the file that I'm looking for specifically. So if I'm not using that extension, I could look up notable notes.view, open up that file, and then I could use the blame feature to then pull up a list of all that stuff. And then I could search for that line. My easiest way of doing that is just to fill it in. And you can see we're getting that same information here. The GitLens is quite powerful in terms of the other options it gives you by like, you could go back into previous changes. So I could open the blame prior to this change and see what it was like before, or really kind of see how it evolved over time. I'd be honest, I'm not really that advanced in understanding how to extend that, but that's generally my train of how I get down to which team worked on it. So suffice to say, I'll probably be putting in something for code review to check out. Honestly, it could also be someone from the plan stage too, since issues are there as well, and I would want to probably share that information with them. But since code review is the last one to touch it, I would want to check with them. Hopefully that helps somebody else.